Today's learners are growing up with AI. The question is no longer just what they learn, but how they learn to think, adapt, and thrive in a future that we cannot really fully predict. Also, how we prepare ourselves and the next generation for jobs that doesn't even exist yet. This year at Vision Golfe, we are focusing on a new theme, the knowledge economy, where education, innovation comes together to shape the leaders of tomorrow. Please join me to welcome our distinguished panelists. Omar Kino, Vice President, Education and Academic Affairs in King Abdullah of Science and Technology. Karim Saghir, Chancellor of Ajman University. Jan van der Lee, CEO Executive Director for International Institute of Nuclear Energy. Sidomir Nestrovic, Professor and Management Department in SSEC Business School. And this panel will be moderated by Sara Sadouq, Director of Innovation and at Entrepreneur Middle East.
It works. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this last panel of this fantastic forum. My name is Sara Sadouq, and I'm the Director of Innovation at Entrepreneur Middle East, which is the leading publication when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. It's a global publication, and I have the pleasure to be representing the UK, the Middle East, and African office. I am joined today by a remarkable it's a good start. Remarkable panelist, and I'll come to it in a bit. But before doing so, I would like to say that it's our honor and our pleasure to be supporting and to be a partner of Business France and Vision Golfe for the third year. It is a remarkable event, and I would like to congratulate the team. And please join me in congratulating the team in setting up such a great platform for a meaningful conversation. You may not know, but as an executive person at Entrepreneur Middle East, I also lead Entrepreneur Impact, which is the innovation board of the publication. We build programs with academics, private sector, and public sector to instill entrepreneurial mindset and innovation in government bodies, but also in countries. I'm not saying this to sell, but to say that it's a great pleasure to be here, because we are here with 4 change makers who will be sharing how they are changing the landscape of education and how they are actually building the next generation. So before we dive into our 4 topics today, I'd like to start by asking you, Karim, asking you, Omar. So this is Omar, Karim, Jan, and Mr. Sid. You will explain. No, it's Mr. Sidomir. I rehearsed your name a couple of times not to make a mistake, and here I am. So before we dive into our 4 topics, I'd like to start by asking each of our speakers to introduce themselves, to present their work in the space of education, and to briefly share with us one transformative moment that have either on your education or professional or personal journey that have shaped the way you think about how education is changing the future. Please, Omar, if you'd like to start.
Right, I'll be brief. My name is Omar Kniao. It's good to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to participate in this panel. My background is in mechanical engineering. I started off specializing in thermofluids and then branched into geofluids. I worked in energetic materials. I spent 20 years as a faculty member in Johns Hopkins University, 4 years as distinguished professor at Duke University, and I've been at KAUST since 2012. 2013, I, as a faculty member, and then took on different leadership positions as Dean of a College of Division of Computer, Electrical, and Mathematical Sciences and Engineering, as Associate Vice President for the National Transformation Institute, which is CAU's translational arm, and since the last year as Vice President for Education and Academic Affairs. Before coming to CAUS, I also had small company experience taking a spin-off from Hopkins all the way through 4 rounds of venture capital financing to its acquisition in 2008, focusing on energetic materials. In terms of transformative moments, I share 2 short stories with you that I think are significant and may weigh in the later part of the discussion. One day I was walking in the corridor with quite a bit of excitement that was very difficult to hide. As you shortly will discover, I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and one of my colleagues said to me, "We recognize the smile, you must have good data today." And I said, "Better? Today I have a theory under very mild assumptions. Tomorrow, all the data and the experiments in the regime will come lining up behind my theory." The second moment was really more in a discussion with industrialists, which were part of our advisory committee in the early 90s at Hopkins. And the discussion was about decentralizing large corporations. And I went after that to one of my mentors, and I said, "I thought this was a good thing that you're talking about with, shipping, manufacturing overseas and decentralizing design and things like that. So why the sad face?" He said, "No, don't get me wrong. We're going to make in the short run a ton of money. But the rule in our industry and so many other industries is the following: where research goes, where manufacturing goes, research will follow." So I'm really sad, and this phase is because of anxiety for you guys, because we are in that. And this was really a shock for me, and I changed my attitude to one that said, yes, I do value partnerships, but whenever I can, I want to conceive locally, I want to design locally, and to the extent that I can afford to, I want to also produce locally. So thank you much.
Thank you very much. Karim.
D'abord, bonjour. C'est un plaisir d'être parmi vous. My name is Karim Al-Saghir. I'm the Chancellor of Ajman University. I think my professional life was not a very straight line, so I had the privilege of witnessing the transformative power of inclusive education. Before joining Ajman University, I was at the American University of Beirut, so I lived there. I lived in Lebanon for 2 years. Then I got to war in 2006, so my family and I had to flee Lebanon to go to Cairo, where I served as the Dean of the Business School at the American University in Cairo. And then few years later, we got what is called the Arab Spring. I'm originally from Tunisia, so I was in Egypt when the Arab Spring has started, so don't feel safe when I'm around. I'm always problematic. I bring big problems. But the good part is that I've seen on the ground what education in its large term can do in important times. So the 3 institutions, AUB, AUC, and now Ajman University, are universities that are focusing on societal impact at large, not only for the students, faculty, and staff, but it is for underserved communities. I have witnessed the power of what scholarship can do to change lives, not only of the individual, but also for the next generations and his descendants or her descendants. I have witnessed what mentoring startups and introducing them to to angel investors or venture capitalists can do, and have witnessed this in Cairo. I have witnessed this in the UAE, and recently what is going on in the region over the past couple of years. We had several students that had to flee Sudan, had to flee Syria, and came to the UAE. We offered them scholarship either through the budget of the university or through generous donors who believe in this mission of transforming lives. So my journey was not a very straight line where I sit on my desk and write emails, but I think I have witnessed what education in its large terms, not only the degree, but what you can really do to empower this generation who is very determined and very skilled and very different, but very good, can do for the region and beyond.
These are very powerful messages, and to that I'd like to ask Jan to share his transformative journey as well.
Well, thanks, Sarah, for inviting me here. Really very honored to be in such a distinguished group here. I also wanted to start by saying my career hasn't been a straight line, but when I hear this story about Karim in the regions and the problems you can have by fleeing one country another, I think my career was pretty straight line at the end. So my name is Jan van der Lee, and I'm a hydrodynamic engineer by training. After my PhD in storage of nuclear waste, I spent about 20 years in teaching and research, and then I decided to move to the industry, and I joined the electricity company here in France, EDF, where first I created and managed an institute for long-term operation of nuclear power plants. As you know, it's big business here in France, about 57 reactors, which needs to be extended to 60 years. But it's a worldwide problem, so it was an international, very international institute. We're working with many different countries. And then I moved to the States. I did 5 years of innovation, new business, everything but nuclear. And then I went back and started to work in international nuclear business development. But now I left, and I am in charge since 1 year of the International Institute for Nuclear Energy. So it's a very specific domain, and it's perhaps I will explain it more in detail later. But it's not a university per se, but it works with a wide network of universities. It's an institute, and all for the sake of developing the tremendous number of engineers and other skill sets required by the nuclear sector in France and in Europe and all over the world. So you asked me about some transformative experience. There have many been. I mean, when I heard, when I was still a young student, just having one person explaining a very exciting experiment or a very exciting trip to one country made me make a decision of what I wanted to do later. And sometimes I just want to underline how important it is that we, after a life of experience, the responsibility we have to go to the young students and explain what we do, what we've done in the field, because that can make them make a decision on the spot. I've seen this several times. But that was a transformative, I think the more recent, really enormous transformative experience is what happens with AI and how the education system has to adapt and change the way they're doing things. But not only that, also in the industry, because the folks we're hiring today, they don't have the same mindset we did 15, 20 years ago. I'll stop here.
Thank you very much, Jan. What I hear from so far is that we all are actors of upskilling and creating an impact, and it's a good set up for the next topics we're going to be covering. But before doing so, I'd like to hear from Čedomir.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So my name is Čedomir Nestorović, and I am a professor at ESSEC Business School. So I'm coming from a country which doesn't exist anymore. It was called Yugoslavia at that time. But I was living in France for 40 years, and now in Singapore for 14 years. So we have quite a good view about what is happening in the world. And I'm teaching two topics. I'm teaching geopolitics. So this is a topic that will never get out of fashion, I think. And I'm also teaching Islamic business, which is quite an interesting topic, not only for Muslim countries, but also for the Western countries. So if I'm looking at what is transformative, I would also say that we transform students, of course, but the students transform us as well. And I will give you this story because when I started to teach at ESSEC, it was a long time ago, ESSEC was a purely Franco-French institution, meaning only French-speaking professors, only French-speaking students. So there was no diversity very much. But today, when I'm looking at the school, it is a completely different school. So we have so many nationalities, we have so many colleagues, we have so many, I would say, partners that we are dealing with, that we cannot recognize the school when I started to be there and what we have today. We have several campuses. So the campus in Singapore has been opened 20 years ago, and we also have a campus in Rabat. So it means that we are also bound to travel to these places, but we also receive students from everywhere. And it is not the first time that we are doing so. So for instance, just to give an indication, but personally, on Saturday, I was teaching in Rabat. So it is for an executive program for Attijari Wafa Bank, which is the biggest bank that we have there. And on Monday, that was Monday and Tuesday, yesterday, I was teaching in Dubai for Etisalat. So it means that we have a presence which is worldwide, and it is a fantastic opportunity also to measure what is happening there. Now, my commitment with the GCC is that we opened an MBA program with the Arabian Gulf University. It was 14 years ago. They asked me to go there 14 years ago in order to open this one. And what is interesting, especially from the GCC perspective, is that the Arabian Gulf University in Manama is not a Bahraini university. It is a GCC university. And it is the only public university of the GCC. So when I see the 6 flags here, when you enter the university, you also have the 6 flags when you enter the campus. So it was a fantastic journey. And it still continues today, but it is not without hurdles. There are obstacles. We cannot say that everything is pink. There are also problems when you want to do something, and maybe we can touch on this later on. I will stop here.
Thank you for sharing so honestly your experiences. I think we all are reflecting on how we can create an impact, and it's just the beginning of our panel. So let me dive into the next topic that we have, which is related to the power of strategic partnership in education. I'd like to start with you, Omar. How is KAUST enhancing today the global academic collaboration with research institutions and top leading universities?
So even before it opened up its doors, KAUST launched what we call the Global Collaborative Research. It's been really a cornerstone of the philosophy, of the way of thinking, of conducting research at KAUST. Most of our programs where our faculty members or researchers really were encouraged to seek the best in class in gap areas and to partner with them. This really provided us an avenue to make a big footprint in research, essentially rising in few short years, 15 years, to be really the largest institution in terms of scientific output in the region, even though KAUST is small with only 200 faculty members. What has provided this, our faculty colleagues and researchers, also the opportunity to go abroad. Virtually every single one of our graduate students has the opportunity of visiting a lab overseas or getting or participating and benefiting from an industry, from an internship in the industry overseas. We are at a stage right now where doubling down on this philosophy with the second phase of our strategy, which is really focusing on accelerating impact through translational research, of establishing innovation hubs overseas. And this is something that has gone from basic research, which is really at the center of your question, to research and innovation and research translation. So I hope this captures that question.
Thank you very much. It does indeed. So, Dr. Seger, to that, can you please tell us what's Ajman's vision when it comes to international partnership that scale impact beyond accreditation? From your perspective, what shifts can this create in the wider education sector?
So, in order to give some context, because I think I don't want to start talking about partners without giving the context of the university, and I think each institution has its own purpose and the mission and the impact that it's trying to do. So for Ajman University, we started in 1988 as the first university that opened its doors to expat students in the Gulf region, meaning that before Ajman University, expat students would have to leave the region to pursue higher education. So diversity and inclusion have been part of our DNA ever since. And diversity by all its means, not only counting passports, but socioeconomic background, differently abled students as well. So research, sustainability is very important for us. So our partnership vision and strategy is around these pillars. So for example, when we talk about preparing students from different background to the world, we send students to different, we have more than 100 academic partners in the world, in different parts of the world, but we also have students coming from abroad to add to the existing 80 nationalities or more of our students. More than 85% of our research is done with academic partners, which is also an indicator of what we can do together, which is much more than what each of us can do. In terms of sustainability, we have partnered with the UN. We have partnered with other networks that include the top universities like Harvard, MIT, etc. And this allowed us to reduce our food carbon print, to reduce our, to do really impactful projects that are aligned with our sustainability goals according to our strategy. But we also were able to partner with companies internationally that provided scholarship for our students, because part of our DNA is that we don't want to make rich kids richer. We want really to play the social ladder, and this is what we are trying to do at Ajman University. And this opened doors to giving more access to students who could not afford higher education, get them jobs and internships in companies that would not have been able to do on their own if Ajman University was not there. I'll give the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you very much. Indeed, you mentioned for the second time scholarship, and we can hear that you're really looking at creating an impact involving different stakeholders, so well done on that. I'll come to Jan for this topic. I'd like to know, I2EN structure is built around public-private academic partnership. And I'd like to know how this model can guide others. And can you please tell us first what is the model about, and how can we expand this model to or inspire others with the work you're doing?
Yes, with pleasure. So I2EN means International Institute for Nuclear Energy, as I explained before. And I think it's also important to give you a little bit of context, because it's the specific business of nuclear, but you will see it can apply to other businesses as well. So in the field of nuclear energy, if I look only at the needs of people, we are in the business of people. In France alone, there are estimates that we need to educate and we need to train 10,000 engineers more per year, 100,000 engineers and other skill sets required for just developing the nuclear sector for France alone. And this is something which is internationally recognized, and every country today wishing to develop a nuclear program, the first thing they have, the first challenge they have to address is how do we rank up our skill sets, and how do we create very competent people first to make decision makers. Then you need to understand a little bit about the business and about the technology. And then, of course, developing, and then building, and then operating, and that's a tremendous challenge. And to have a competent skill set ready in 5 years, you better start today, because it takes 3 to 5 years to educate an engineer and a couple of years more to make a specialist. So that's the business we are in. And we have found that creating a public-private academic partnership, so acting as a hub rather than running the whole thing in your own, is very efficient. So we have very strong support from the government. We have from 3 ministries who are supporting us. And this is extremely important because that gives us the vision we need. And the vision is very much followed by students because they are looking what the trends are and what the jobs for them will be in the coming years. And then the private sector, because the students in the programs, having been a teacher myself, we know how to build an educational program. We know how to teach people. But we generally are a little bit reluctant in adapting our teaching program as the industry changes a lot, and it changes a lot. So the private part and having the industry aligned with us is extremely important in order to make sure that these training programs, these education and training programs are well aligned what the actually needs will be for this specific industry. And then we need the academic, of course, the academic world. They have to, and they have to be brought in interconnection, work together. We do this in a very international level. We strongly believe that you cannot address such a big industry like the nuclear industry by just one country alone. And so international collaboration is important, and that starts at the education level, having exchange of students, bringing them to other universities. So creating a network is extremely beneficial and has been proven to be extremely beneficial for the work we are dealing with.
Thank you very much. What translates from the 3 answers that you provided is like public-private partnership is very key in building the skills of tomorrow. And talking about skills, I'd like to come to you, Sedomir, for the 3rd section of our panel. So it's, of course, the most important aspect is to build skills, and this is why we are here in this conversation today. But preparing the talent of future is key as well. So we need alignment with education needs and emerging needs of industries. From your perspective and a broader spectrum, as you are in different countries and different continents as well, you have a broader view on what are the gaps when it comes to talent and skills. Can you please tell us, where do you think the biggest talent shortage and skills lie in France, in the wider region, in the Gulf region, and perhaps Asia as well, since you have that perspective? And how do you at ESSEC address those gaps?
Thank you. This is the core question that we have about our students, because we have to decide what do we teach them. And as it has been indicated by Jan, we know how to build programs, we know how to teach, but maybe we also have to ask ourselves how ready we are in order to be transformed. So usually when you design a program, you are looking at 2 types of skills. You are talking about hard skills and soft skills. So concerning the hard skills, there is currently a revolution which is given by AI. So the question is, how much can we teach in hard skills? Will we teach something, let's say, in the year 1, and in the year 6, it's completely obsolete? So that's a big problem that we have concerning the updating of what we teach concerning the hard skills. Now, concerning the soft skills, here we are looking at the human interaction. So for the human interaction, we can say there are some things which are completely translatable from one space to the other, and there are things which cannot be translated. So for instance, questions about spirituality, about religion are very difficult to translate. But questions about leadership and questions about, for instance, motivation for the people to accomplish something, this is something that we can translate. So concerning the skills, we have experienced this in my case concerning Bahrain, because we have received students coming from Saudi, from Kuwait, and from Bahrain for the last 13 years, and we can see what is interesting for them, and we can see how can we move in this direction. So in our case, we are practically adapting the program every year because of the changes that we have there, but also the demand which is coming from them. And as it has been indicated, education is not like any other business. It is long range, and we have constraints. The constraints are given by the accreditations, and the constraints are given by the rankings. So there's two things. The accreditation and rankings, it is something that you have to plan for the next 5 years. For the people who are coming for the first time to the region and they want to sell something, like the luxury panel before, you can do it overnight. But in our case, you cannot do it overnight. So it means that you have to plan it ahead. And when you plan it, you also have to see where are you obsolete and where you are not obsolete. So, for instance, maybe you remember it was a few years ago, there was a huge buzz about something called re-engineering. So the term has disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore. But at that time, everyone was talking about. I remember during the COVID time, everybody was excited by the metaverse. And everybody wants to be in the metaverse. Today, no one is talking about this anymore. So we also have to take it with a grain of salt. All the evolutions that we have today, we have to be ready to assume that maybe they will not last, or maybe they will not be as strong as they appear today. So I would say it is a complex machine, but it's not the first time that we are producing programs, and we exist for quite a long time, so it means that we are quite robust, and we can provide something which is valuable for the market.
Thank you so much. And I forgot about the word re-engineering. Do you remember that word in the audience? I personally don't remember. So good one on that. If I may add as well, with the growth of AI, ChatGPT, you will have even a bigger challenge in auditing all the content that is coming, and the accreditation will have a bigger challenge as well. So thank you for your insights. Now I'll love to hear from Karim. You touched point on sustainability in the previous question. I'd like to know how is Ajman University integrating AI, sustainability, but also entrepreneurship, because I know you're quite strong into entrepreneurship in your programs, and on a broader spectrum as well. Where do you see, or where do you foresee the most urgent skill gap? Let's take notes on that.
Yeah. Of course, the three words that you have mentioned are spot on. I mean, sustainability, entrepreneurship are very important. But I'll tackle it from a specific angle that we do at Ajman University. So all students, regardless of their major, have a set of skills that they have to satisfy when they graduate. So whether they study medicine, dentistry, engineering, law, mass communication, whatever, they have a set of skills, including artificial intelligence, sustainability, and what I call by intrapreneurship. So entrepreneurship is basically when you start your business. Intrapreneurship is when you are creative, even within the company where you work. So these three skills are very important for Ajman University, and all students have to take these courses. But I think we have invested a lot in artificial intelligence, where we started an undergraduate program, a master degree, and very soon a PhD program. And most of our research is in artificial intelligence. The good thing is that we are a comprehensive university. So artificial intelligence, obviously, it is in our College of Engineering at IT, but most of the research in artificial intelligence is with faculty members in medicine or in dentistry or in pharmacy, so other colleges. And this is the beauty of the discipline of artificial intelligence that can touch different disciplines. Entrepreneurship is something that I've seen how it can transform lives. I've seen it in Beirut, I have seen it in Egypt, and I can see it now in the UAE. And in addition to teaching entrepreneurship, we have an incubator / accelerator at Ajman University, where we are proud of having incubated more than 130 startups and have participated in economic development, because these startups, we did not only help them by mentoring the business model, the prototype, etc., but we also connected them to VCs and angel investors. And these startups have created jobs. Some of them are new startups, some of them have started somewhere else and came to the UAE as the hub in the Middle East for business, and have expanded their market beyond their home country. So a very important thing in the Middle East, I told you I have worked in Lebanon, in Egypt, I'm originally from Tunisia, I work in the UAE. So the challenge in the region is the gap between, especially the private sector and academia, and I have seen this in most of the countries I have worked at. And this has led to an unemployment rate among youth which is at 30%. This is the average. University graduates, the unemployment rate is 40%, which means that if you get a university graduate in the region, I mean, I'm talking about the MENA region at large, you are more likely to be unemployed than before getting a university degree. So at Ajman University, we are responsibly tackling, of course, at our scale, because, I mean, whatever we do, it's one university, but what I was really happy to see and very pleased to see is that many companies in the private sector, in the UAE and in the Gulf region have shared this vision and this responsible paradigm shift, I would say, and they are now working with us hand in hand since the student starts in year one. We don't wait until the career fair, etc., and how to write your CV. We start from year one, and we have here some partners that we are proud of that believe in this transformative journey of preparing students, because I think that if we are in silos and we walk in different journey between the academia and the private sector, the gap in the unemployment rate will be even larger, and the region will have other challenges that we are trying to avoid.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's fascinating, and also I'd like to invite the audience to connect with all the speakers, because they all mentioned the importance of private and academia partnerships. So if you're not partner of these 4 institutions, I invite you to connect with them on LinkedIn. Going back to our topic, I'd like to come to what CAST is doing in Saudi, and a fantastic job in building future talents. Can you please tell us what's your approach in training talents on jobs that will come in the future? And also, what are some of the set skills that will need to be honed in this new landscape of transformation we're living in?
Yeah, I start with the second question first. And,
yes.
you know, we've mentioned on the soft skills before. So, you know, we endorse what has been said on entrepreneurship, on leadership, on the soft skills, on the communication. We are also building in our programs, you know, very important international component, as I mentioned before, so that this diversity that was touched on before is the diversity of thinking and being able to experience what different ecosystems are doing, what different universities and companies are doing is we have our students exposed to as part of their training. In science and technology in particular, and engineering, our field has seen really tremendous and radical changes that have gone over the past 250 years of teaching. You know, I started off my career by being taught that, you know, focus on a single discipline, you know, where the community has rebelled against that, and nature is multidisciplinary. I was told, don't mix scales. Everything these days is multi-scale. I was told that do not focus on drown yourself with big data. Everything nowadays in big data. I was told, be as precise as you can all my answers today have come with a certain element of uncertainty and risk, and without that, decisions are really impossible. I was told that to be able to design safely, you need to be able to design a structure. You needed 4 principles: safety, stability, economy, and availability. Now, if we don't add sustainability, if we don't add life cycle, if we don't add environment, our life is really very, very difficult. Where I see really a skill that is going to be, has traditionally been important. I fear right now it's being de-emphasized, and the story that I told you before was specifically so that I can re-emphasize this point. We are coming to an era, the planet is coming to an era of climate change, into a regime that we haven't seen before. We are in the middle of an energy transformation that has seen a level of renewable penetration that we haven't seen before, where we're in a regime where we have to operate electrical network and power networks in a range that we don't know how to characterize resiliency and robustness. We are in the middle of a digital transformation, the impact of which we've just started to scratch the surface. So more so than ever, I think we really need to train people who have a very solid understanding of theory, of fundamentals, so that they can be lifelong learners, and so they can tackle the unknown and tackle what we haven't seen. What we're doing is, in areas that we haven't said, is focused on specialization, do micro-credentials, go to where the customers, the learners are, partner with international institutions overseas, so we can build the research programs that bring in the innovation and the training, especially in areas that we don't have. In nuclear, we'll have to come to I2E. In semiconductors, we have to go to go to the US for prototyping. We have to learn something from the Shenzhen ecosystem, and for pharma and energy, we are seeking up innovation hubs in Europe, because this is really where the strengths are.
Thank you very much for this insight. To that, I'm conscious of the time. We have 3 minutes. I'd like to ask you this question, because you are in the center of nuclear and technology, so we are talking about different set of skills, I would say, but we mentioned the human skills. Sedomer mentioned human skills. Can you please tell us what are some of the critical skills, tech or non-tech, that France and GCC must prioritize to remain competitive and that you think are important for the future?
For the future,
or the present,
and the present, because it's the need for skill sets in the industry, and specifically engineers. It's not a challenge; it's almost a crisis, actually. So
interesting.
So we really have to make sure that we can deal with the current situation. It's a hard question to say what exactly the skill sets are, but we know this in my specific sector, because we have the studies has been done by an organization here in France for the whole nuclear sector called GIFEN, and they made a study where they looked at the skill sets required. And number one is project management, because this kind of projects are long-term, very long-term projects, and they're pretty complex, and they're international. If you look at building a nuclear power plant in, for example, in Finland, there were about 4,500 workers every day at peak moments on site, and they came from 80 different countries. So it's pretty hard to manage this kind of project internationally and deal with all the different cultures. And then there's a whole bunch of other disciplines which are either technical and non-technical. What students very often do not know is that there are so many other skills, not only technical skills required. So we're just discussing the numerical and AI and this kind of technologies. They're very much needed also in this kind of sectors. They're building digital twins from reactors, which is truly innovation. Okay. They're looking at cybersecurity. This is a huge issue. And of course, using very advanced AI for predictive maintenance, knowing what happens in your machine before something needs to be replaced, for example.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we are coming to an end of our panel. Thank you very much for our panelists for this thought-provoking and very deeply relevant conversation. I think we all understand that change cannot be done in isolation. That's what come across. And I hope you marked the different skills that are required to build the future generation and the current generation. So if you have any question, please feel free to connect with our speakers online. And most importantly, don't forget to tag us on social media so we can repost your post. Thank you very much. And thank you.